we are your first fully digital network. Available in your favorite platforms, our shows can reach you wherever you are, whenever you want. Plus Network meets you where you are. Our desire is to share with you stories that are both educating and entertaining. We are committed to uplifting you in every facet of your life. Why? Dahil we believe in you. Our stories will move and inspire you to do more and be more. From financial lessons to inspirational life testimonies, we will make sure your 2021 will be a year you regain control of your life. Join us as we share with you stories that will hack healthy lifestyles, quick and easy recipes, money matters, parenting secrets, and many, many more. Kami dito sa Plus Network, we are behind you. So sa 2021, hindi na mahirap ang mangarap. Follow, subscribe, and like us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. And together, we can all be more and be plus. We are where you are.
Janina Vela here, and welcome back to the show where we talk all things adulting. Adulthings! Grabe no, Friday na po ulit. I'm very, very surprised. I feel like that week went by way too fast. I don't know if that was just me. Pero sige, let's see. Did you guys feel like that week went by way too fast? Or is that just me? Actually, no. Kayena says, ang bilis mag-Friday. I agree 100%. Let's say hi to everybody here. Vincent is here. Sasa is here. Marielle, Shekinah, Mia, of course, yung mga perfect in attendance. Althea, Ali, Kuya Jessie, Angela is here also. Rand Spolia, who's always the first person to comment here. Hello, welcome. Ayun, lahat sinasabi, I agree, super fast. Shekinah says super fast. Ali ren, super bilis, back to school na on Monday. Uy, wag na muna natin pag-isipan yung Monday. Guys, nakastart lang ng weekend natin. Chill muna tayo, di ba? Nakakahawa talaga energy mo. Thank you. I feel like I need a little bit of your energy kasi parating na yung midterms ko. And so I will need a little help because I'm feeling a little sleepy today. But today we're going to talk about fakes or facts. So we're gonna talk about youth digital media literacy. Ano ba yun? Para ang laki ng discussion natin tonight. Okay lang because we have a professional to talk about it. Because honestly, in light of everything that's happening around us today, you know, it's a big question how we as young adults should approach the online sphere in terms of facts, in terms of news, in terms of current affairs, especially in the digital world. So what can we do to teach ourselves, to teach one another social media literacy so that we don't perpetuate and spread the wrong messages, harmful messages around? And I think, you know, as somebody who identifies as a social political influencer, medyo I always feel lucky na hindi pa ako nag-accidentally peddle ng fake news. Because I try to do my research as much as possible, pero walang nagturo sa akin kung paano mag-discern, kung ano yung totoo, kung ano yung dapat paniwalaan. So I hope today I will learn more because I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just trying my best here. So we can learn all together, no? But I want to ask you guys a question. Starting off with, you know, for our topic, which is on a scale of 1 to 5 being the highest, with 5 being the highest, how responsible do you think you are as a social media user? How responsible? So pwede ba kayong would you say you're pretty responsible, like you're super responsible as a social media user, so you rate yourself 5, or maybe could be better, maybe like a 3 or something like that. Okay, Vincent says 5. I'm happy for you. That's wonderful. 5. That's really good. Sabi ni Kuya Jesse, 1. Okay. Maya said, to be honest, 3. Salamat. Salamat sa honesty mo. Shekina says 4. Um, Kayena, I think, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correct. 5, since I work for a broadsheet. 5, 4, 3. 3, I triple check the source. That's really good. There's 5. So I think naman we all are, at least walang 2, at least walang 1. I think I would rate myself maybe a 4. I think I'm pretty responsible, pero medyo nadadala pa rin ako ng mga trends, no, ng mga nakita kong mga infographic, which I want to ask our guest about later, infographics. Anyway, so whatever your answer is, I hope this will be a helpful episode for you guys. But before we get on to our segment with our guest, we are going to go to the Adult Think segment first. As always, this is where we talk about different news of the week or, just different news regarding our topic and wonder, ano ang say mo dito? So for this week, ito po ang ating news. Majority of youth share news without verifying the sources. So this is from statistics from Singapore, I think. About 2 out of 3 of youth sometimes share news without verifying sources. But more than half of youth will make a correction if the information they share turns out to be fake. That's good naman, more than half. And so this is according to a survey carried out by a group of diploma in consumer behavior and research students from Republic Polytechnic in Singapore. And I think this is a very interesting one because nakita ko lang when I don't really share news articles so much, but I shared a news article about me. That's such a weird thing to say, but I should have thought that through. Pero may shinare ako from Rappler, no, about me. And then, nung niretweet ko siya, nakita ko may notification that said, would you like to read this article first? Or something like that. And I thought that was very interesting. So I wanted to ask you guys, does that ever help you? Yung nakita nyo yung words na yon, would you like to read this first? Binabasa nyo ba ang mga article before you repost, or okay lang yan, share, YOLO na lang. So I don't know about you guys, but something that I've been doing is really being careful. Also because the trolls are out to get me right now, and I gotta be careful with what I do, what I say online. But yeah, Maya says yes now. That's really great. I'm glad you read. Althea says yes. Vincent says yes. I love this. You guys are very social media responsible. Wonderful. So I'm excited to now. Oh wait, I want to read this comment. It reminds me to be responsible and how headlines can be misleading sometimes. Yes. Oh my gosh. Especially news outlets. Like, hindi lang po mga YouTuber yung mahilig mag-clickbait. Anyway, so, to join us tonight in discussing more of this topic, let me introduce you guys to our guest. So she is a reporter and communicator for TV, radio, and digital platforms with more than 10 years of experience in television networks in the Philippines. So she is a producer of internationally awarded documentaries and has published several in-depth investigative stories for public and government awareness and action. So on top of that, she's also an experienced media campaign manager for digital ads. So let us all welcome Miss Isay Reyes Kang.
Hello!
Hello!
Janina.
Good evening!
Good evening. Tapos nakita ko yung mga fans mo, meron silang Vela Fam. So,
Vela Fam, opo.
yes. Hello, Vela Fam. Good evening sa inyong lahat.
Good evening. How are you doing tonight po?
Just like you, I'm a bit sleepy kasi it has been a long day and di ba parang bad weather, maulan. Pero kaya natin yan. Marami tayong pag-uusapan na very interesting. So, yeah, kumain ako ng madaming dinner para buo ang energy ko sa discussion natin tonight.
I know, I'm so excited to learn from you tonight. And yung ano niyo po yung CV niyo, medyo hindi pa to yung extensive version, dito pa yung summarized version, and hindi pa na mention yung mga advokasya niyo po. And so maybe, to help our viewers get to know you and then what you stand for, what you believe in, maybe you could share what you were sharing to me a while ago before we started about your advocacies.
Sure, okay. Hello everyone. So I'm Isay Reyes. Yun yung aking pangalan talaga sa TV, but I'm a Kang since I'm already married. So Isay Reyes Kang. I have been with GMA7, with ABS-CBN as a multi-platform reporter for TV, for radio, and simula nagkaroon ng digital world for the internet na rin and for online. Hello, Althea. All right. So, yeah. So, masaya yung maging reporter. Actually, Janina and I were talking about it kanina. I'm really advocating on positive news. So, back during the time when I was still a reporter for TV, it hasn't been a while naman. What I really try to do is every time I'm gonna go for coverage, of course, hindi naman laging maraming good news na makikita natin. Pero as much as possible, kapag meron akong pwedeng i-report na good news, good deeds, or yung pagtutulungan, bayanihan, yan yung pinipilit ko talaga na i-pitch sa news desk para yan yung maging story ko for the day or yan yung ma-air ko for the day. And right now, actually, I built a shoe brand. It's called Bangon. Bangon Shoes. Bakit siya bangon? Kasi it started during the pandemic. So during the pandemic, nagkaroon ako ng chance maka-interview ng mga traditional Filipino weavers natin. And nakita ko na dahil super affected ang tourism, super affected sila, wala silang income. So naisip ko, paano kaya pwede tulungan itong mga traditional weavers na to? So ginawa ko, kinuha ko yung mga weaves nila, tapos dinesign ko para mapunta siya sa shoes. And then now, I'm focusing on that. I'm building the brand, which is yun nga, Bangon Shoes. So if ever meron sa inyo, sa mga Vela fam na nagagawi sa BGC on weekends, we have a pop-up store sa BGC along the Avenue. Yes, we are there every weekend. So yeah, trying to contribute to a better world, if I may call it like that.
Yeah. Wow. Same, Raven. Wow. Ang ganda po ng mga advocacies nyo. I love both of them, supporting local and not just, products, but even our the people. Even people
Totoo.
mismo. Kasi minsan, yun nga, nakakalimutan rin natin sila. Parang we're always focused on the products, but how about the people behind the products? As well as, I love what you mentioned about positive news kasi feeling ko, yun yung, I don't know, kulang ba? Yeah, definitely. Yun yung kulang sa, information natin ngayon. And I do want to take that to, segue into our topic tonight kasi, I think the fact that you have to advocate for positive news means it's kind of telling of our climate, of our information and news climate right now. And so, can you, what can you say about how news and how information and how how our climate is looking like in this context right now?
Actually, what you said reminds me of the day when I applied as a reporter sa GMA7. So, wala pa akong experience nun on cam, puro off cam. So, yung aming head of news asked me, ano ba ang gusto mong gawin na news if ever you are given the chance to be a reporter? Then I said, I want to report about good news. Gusto ko positive news lang. And then, sabi niya sa akin, well, Isay, realistically speaking, there's not much positive news that you could really report about. So, I said at that time, being very idealistic, medyo kakagraduate ko lang siguro mga 3 years pa lang ako nag-work nun. Sabi ko, it just depends on the lens. Makakakita na ako sa news plan. So, with that, isa-segue ko ngayon na nung naging reporter na ako, nakita ko realistically, wala talaga masyadong positive news unless you use your lens and you pray for it. You really ask God, Lord, show me something positive para yun ang mai-report ko. Siguro in 1 week, I would have to say, marami na yung isang positive news na pwede kong mai-report.
Wow. Okay.
Yes. Ganun siya ka-rare. And so that is the climate of our news right now. maraming magsasabi na, ay naku, we don't watch news nga kasi it's so negative. Parang, 'di ba? Parang after watching the news, na-depress na kami, parang nawalan na kami ng hope and all that. Pero I believe and I think na with the influence that social media has right now, ang laki ng chance natin, parang the social media platform kasi gives so much voice to every single individual, and it's just a matter of really taking advantage of it and learning how to use it properly para makapag-share talaga tayo ng positive news.
Yeah. I like that idea. I like the idea of a lens, no? And it comes with proactivity to look for the good. Because if you look outside your window, automatically all you're gonna see are negative things, and that's just how the world works now and how it has worked for many years. I mean,
Yeah.
since you started, right, as you mentioned, and I'm sure that was the problem of other journalists before you, right?
Mm-mm. Yeah.
And so I think that's a very interesting idea, that you really have to look. You
Mhm.
really have to search for the good. Otherwise, we're always going to be stuck doom scrolling. It's just scrolling on social media on the doom and the negativity and the darkness constantly. But I wanna talk about the scrolling now aspect of social media, where you mentioned everybody can tell their stories. Every individual has a right, a platform to speak. Is
Mhm.
that a good thing or a bad thing? Would you say that it's a positive thing that everybody, because when everybody has, an opportunity to speak, it's great because everybody can be heard. But also there are things that should not be heard, maybe. There are things that maybe should not be said. And so do you think that, social media in the context of information and news is a good thing, a bad thing?
Well, actually, ang laki ng importance ng literacy or really understanding what media is really all about. Kasi if you know what you have to consume, or if you're conscious kung ano yung information na i-consume mo and ano yung information na i-contribute mo, then it would be intentional. I would have to call it
Yeah,
that
that's
way.
good. Mhm.
Even if it's not like in the online platform, it top of my head right now, naalala ko lang yung coverage ko back during the time na nagkaroon ng Typhoon Yolanda. I'm sure
Yeah.
tayo, fresh pa rin sa memory natin yun. So, I was assigned to report on Typhoon Yolanda. It was aftermath na of the typhoon. I went to Eastern Samar. And then, syempre, ang expectation sa akin was that i-report mo kung gaano na karaming bahay yung dumuho, meron na bang nakapag-reconstruct and all that. So, of course, nire-report ko siya kasi yun yung trabaho ko. I had to do it. But then, when I was there, sabi ko, I have to be intentional in looking for something positive dito na I can spark hope in the people.
Mm-mm.
So, thank God, you know what I did? Nakita ko yung mga bata. They were in the evacuation center. Nasa tents lang sila. And nagtuturo kasi ako sa church namin before, nagtuturo ako ng Sunday school. So what I did was, I went to the kids and then I gave them parang pieces of paper. Tapos binigyan ko sila ng crayons and then I said, kids, i-drawing nyo naman dito sa pieces of paper na to kung ano yung mga pangarap ninyo. Kasi it was Christmas
Aw.
season. So i-drawing nyo dito kung ano yung mga pangarap ninyo. And then, so, yan, binigyan ko sila ng time. My cameraman was, taking footage of everything. And then, grabe, Janina, when I got the pieces of paper, sobrang nadurog yung puso ko kasi yung mga dreams ng mga bata, parang pangarap po namin na sana maging kompleto yung pamilya namin, pangarap po namin na sana po yung bahay po namin maitayo ulit. Meron pa nga nagsabi, pangarap ko po na sana magkaroon ako ulit ng school supplies kasi natangay sa bahay. And then, after that, so I was given, the desk allowed me to report on it. So, nai-report ko yun. And then, sobrang thankful ako kasi nung naipalabas yun, donations we were flooded by donations. So, ang daming nagbigay ng help, ang daming nag-share nung news about it. And so, parang that is an example of really seeing how things are, being intentional. Although this is the fact, ito yung nangyayari talaga at present. Pangit talaga, wala tayong magagawa dyan. Pero meron tayong makikita na something nice. Napaka-importante that we have to be responsible media consumers and media contributors. Talaga.
Yeah.
So I cannot overemphasize. And being like your crowd sa age ninyo as students, kung ano mang level or at least young adults, 'di ba? Ngayon pa lang, i-train nyo na paano makakita ng positive. Because when you train yourself and yun na yung na parang nasanay na kayo na ganun, sobrang laking strength niya to face
Yeah.
this world na siguro in the future, parang kahit na everything's, di ba, sabi nga sa Bible, so many may fall at your left and at your right, pero you will not fall, you will stand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would, I mean, I would love that. But how do I start, Miss Isai? If I want to train my mind to focus on the positive, to look for the positive, what's the first step to do that?
For me, the first step would really be to pray.
Mm.
Talagang people would say it, syempre different naman yung viewers natin. Minsan may mga naniniwala sa power of prayer. May mga iba naman na they just pray out of compliance. Pero when you pray and when you really seek it na, Lord, I want to see something different. Paano ko ba ito i-approach? It works. It really works, I tell you. And dapat makita natin or maintindihan natin or we have to be educated kung gaano kalaki yung impact na nagagawa kapag we post something or we say something or we do something. Understanding the influence that you could do is really a lot para doon ka mag-start mag-train ng mind. Because it's like this do you want to be part of the 80% who's negative and all of you will just tumble and fall? Or do you want to be part of the 20% na whatever could come, nakatayo pa rin kayo or standing pa rin kayo?
Mm-hmm.
I read somewhere, nakakagulat nga, kasi this week, nag-aral din talaga ako about the digital media kasi I had a talk this morning sa mga students. And then nakita ko na for news, 82% social media na nagko-consume ng tao. Ang tao, 82% sila sa social media na sila nagko-consume ng news.
News.
64%, 64% na lang sa TV, tapos 24% sa print media, and then 26% sa radio. Siyempre sa mga millennials, you are already part of the 82% na nagko-consume sa social media. And then, ang Filipinos pala, including your age, in a day, average of 11 hours online, on the phone, every single day. We are the highest sa Southeast Asia.
Really?
Yeah, we are the highest in Southeast Asia. Kasi globally, parang around 7 hours lang a day. Pero Filipinos, we top it. We consume 11 hours each day. So imagine, if you're going to really think about it, what do I inject in my mind almost half of the day? O diba? Parang 24 hours a day, half is 12 hours. Anong ilalagay ko sa mind ko? Or anong kino-contribute ko sa mga tao na nakakakita? Ganun kalaki yung impact. It's like the food that you eat.
Yeah. It is like the food that you eat. It's what you consume, and that's actually what parang that's what will keep you going for a while. And what happens is, if pangit yung pagkain mo, it will keep you going for a bit, but then you'll become more unhealthy, you'll become more sluggish, you'll become more exhausted in the long run. Pero kahit ako, hindi ako mahilig sa vegetables. Kaya importante para I choose to eat a salad, right? You choose to eat vegetables. In the same way, you choose to, you choose good news, you choose positive news. But I want to get your opinion on this, no? Kasi since your advocacy is positive news, where do you draw the line between positivity and hope and toxic positivity?
What do you mean by toxic positivity? Like unrealistic positivity?
Yeah, it's like, I think, we've seen toxic positivity in the pandemic na, the world is in shambles and stuff, and people are still pushing, parang it becomes insensitive. It comes to a point where the positivity becomes insensitive kasi parang ini-invalidate na niya siguro yung totoong nararanasan ng mga tao.
Very interesting yung question mo. Kasi totoo, hindi mo pwedeng ipilit isubo sa tao. So, ako personally, siguro, coming from my personal experience, ang magiging answer ko sa'yo, Janina, would be, if you feel like it's something genuine, or you're not faking it, or you see that it's not unrealistic, then you keep doing it. Kasi sometimes, most especially sa media, ang balance kasi talaga is you really have to report on everything that's happening. So no matter how pangit something is, if there is something good, you also have to report on the good. But sometimes naman, if you see everything good, you also have to report on the negative. So talagang you have to balance it out, and you have to see then kung paano yung nagiging reaction. I would have to say, um, it just comes into my mind right now, yung bashers, for example. Diba? Ang dami niyan. Nako, talaga naman. So, if you report on something positive, for example, let's say lang, jeepney drivers. Let's say, sina jeepney driver, wala silang pagkain. So, may mga tao na nag-contribute dun sa mga jeepney driver. Di ba sobrang, nakaka-touch naman. And then, may mga bashers magsasabi, peke lang yan. Marami naman mga, gusto lang ng mga yan ng exposure. Siguro, tatakbo yan sa eleksyon, or siguro, siguro yung funds na makukuha nila, hindi nila ibibigay yan sa mga jeepney driver. So, how would we react, di ba? Will we get easily discouraged na, ay, sige na nga, I'll just stop na lang reporting on this one? Or, you go the extra mile, you really try to see kung genuine talaga yung ginagawa na effort ng ibang tao, or just as long as natutulungan yung mga jeepney drivers, kasi hodang maraming sinasabi yung ibang tao. So what? Diba? Hindi naman sila yung hindi naman sila yung nangangailangan. Yung mga jeepney drivers yung nangangailangan. So, I think you would have to test it. If you think that what you're doing is not being accepted anymore, then okay lang to back off and back out. Or you think you're overfeeding positive news to a point na it's becoming toxic, then you back it out a bit. But nothing is gonna be toxic if it's also always balanced.
Yes. I like that, looking for the balance, because I feel like it's real naman talaga that there are stories of hope. But it's also real that there are stories of suffering. And it's not really balanced, but it's really just reporting what's real. Reporting the both realities of the Philippines, where yes, there are jeepney drivers who are struggling, but yes, there are also inspirational stories there. So I think that's the authentic genuineness that Miss Isa is talking about, that both are very valid, both are very real. But let's not focus too much on one, siguro, at least in terms of news, and reporting. I mean, of course, in a perfect world, we would love to focus on the good news. Pero syempre, let's be real also. We have to, report what's really happening, no? I like what you mentioned a while ago, and Maya actually commented it. She said, be responsible as media consumers, which is kind of what we talked about with positivity, and also as media contributors. And I want to ask now, because we asked about drawing the line between positivity and toxic positivity, but now I want to ask you about drawing the line between news and sorry, between fake news and facts, or fakes and facts. How, in a world where there's so much information coming out, how do we know if it's real or not?
You know what? Actually, talagang ito ay parang napaka-controversial. 'Di ba? Sobrang controversial ng fake news yan or legitimate yan. But for me, super simple lang how to see it.
Okay.
Life has a way of, parang life is a process, 'di ba? You are born, you learn, you study, you earn a degree, you work. And then other people, same lang yung cycle. So the people who are learned sa certain fields, then they are experts for a purpose. For example, ako reporter, magpapatayo ako ng bahay. Porket reporter ako, hindi ko pipilitin na hindi, ito yung design na gusto ko. Kahit sabihin ng architect na, ma'am, hindi nga po ganyan kasi hindi po bagay dito, or masyado pong malambot yung soil dito. Hindi! Ako gusto ko yan ang gusto ko, gawan mo ng paraan. Di ba hindi? I would have to trust the expertise of that person kasi expert siya doon.
Yes.
And ako, meron akong ibang expertise, meron akong ibang skill. So, the only way to counter fake for fact is really to trust the legitimate resources or legitimate sources. Halimbawa, if you're talking about news, then you have to trust the news organizations. You have to trust GMA, ABS-CBN, Philippine Star, Manila Bulletin, Inquirer, TV5, CNN, Rappler. Meron ding magsasabi, Janina, na, bias naman po sila. Bias po si
Yeah,
Swing
that's what they
Network.
say.
Di ba? Bias po itong print media na to.
Yeah.
And then if you don't trust that specific entity or that specific media organization, then you go look for others. Pero still, they have to be legitimate because they are experts in that field. Diba? For example, in the field then of psychology, let's say depression, mental health, ganyan, then we don't listen to people na masyadong maraming sinasabi, sounding like experts to a point na you feel so condemned, but you listen to the experts kasi they know what they're talking about. Diba? When, for example, you're sick, masakit yung tiyan ko, Doc, masakit yung tiyan ko,
Yeah.
or Beshi, masakit yung tiyan ko. Si Beshi, meron siyang advice sa'yo. Pero si Doc may advice din sa'yo. Sinong papakinggan mo?
That's good.
Definitely, di ba? Definitely si Doc ang kailangan mong pakinggan because Beshi can only talk from experience. But the doctor can definitely talk from education. So, talagang kung ma-engage kayo in debates, then just one simple answer. Saan ang galing yung source mo? And then, okay na yun. You're sure na fact ang sinasabi mo or pinag-uusapan ninyo.
Yeah, I love that analogy. That's a really good, especially the doctor one. Kasi parang yung nauso ngayon is CTTO, credit to owner on Facebook.
Yes.
May nagsulat ng, correct naman more or less yung English grammar niya. So, sinashare lang ng mga tao. And they're like, sabi niya ito. But that is so true that, sometimes kasi wala, I think bias naman talaga tayo. I mean, we are subjective. We are coming from a subjective point of view, just baseline. That's how humans are. And so it's very important that when you're looking at news, when you're looking at current affairs, it's not from the perspective of experience, or it's not really, at least in terms of facts, not naman in news in general, but kaya I love that you mentioned education is important, yung credentials are important, where that news source even got their information is also important. But how I want to ask this because I actually don't know the answer to this, is Isai. What makes a news site credible?
A news site becomes credible if they are really experts in that field. If like for example in the Philippines, of course, we would know kung ano yung mga credible sources. These are the networks that really air and na meron talaga silang audience. Meron silang consumers. They have been tested for years. And then wala silang track record of doing something wrong that could have destroyed their credibility, and that makes them legitimate. I know that it's not wrong then to start something. Like for example, ako, I would put myself as an example. Halimbawa, gumawa ako ng page, Pinoy Good News. Pero, pagpalagay na natin si Plus Network. Si Plus Network, meron din siyang content na puro good news. If I have been releasing my news for, let's say, 6 months, but Plus Network has been releasing good news for 3 years, then I would, kung hindi ako yung consumer, if I'm someone else, I would have to trust Plus Network kasi mas matagal sila in the field. They have already gained that expertise. They have already gained that reputation. And ako, I have to respect it that it's also a process that if I want to grow, then I would have to exert effort for me to grow. Pero yeah, you don't trust yung mga pasulput-sulput lang na sources. Trust those na meron talagang mga in-depth, may mga interviews talaga sila about it. Yun, halimbawa taga Pasig kayo or taga Makati kayo, nakakita kayo, sa Makati daw nagbabakuna siguro sa Glorieta. Pero punta kayo sa Facebook page ng Makati City Hall. Tignan nyo doon kung totoo ba na may babakuna sa Glorieta or wala. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really nice. I think yeah, it's a long-standing credibility that we can trust that has been
Mhm.
built over the years. Na may consistency, and looking at the track record rin of how they've been reporting over the years, I think is a very important. Yeah, it's something very important to consider. I wanna ask, because what I've been doing is I try to cross reference. Is that the correct term?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I will, read from Inquirer, I'll read from Philippine Star, and then I'll read from Manila Bulletin, and then make sure that they all align.
Yes,
Just
that's
to
correct.
see that. Because there are a lot of people who say that one is biased. And
Mhm.
actually, I want to ask you that why do you think people will shout that this is biased or biased kayo to a certain network who has that credibility?
People would say na bias kayo if they don't like what you're actually reporting. And
Mm,
they're coming from a point of view na iba sa point of view ng isang network. For example,
mm,
if a certain network is known, actually, you know what? Ang tricky eh. Kasi ang
yeah,
discipline talaga ng mga television networks is that kailangan fair. Everything is fair. Pero people talaga, they use their lens in a different way then to really see the smallest fault in
yeah.
these networks and say, ay, bias siya. Mas marami siyang nireport tungkol kay personality A kesa kay personality B.
Mm,
Pero it doesn't work that way. Gusto kong i-debunk yung idea na yon na bias yung mga networks. And I'm talking for all the networks, I would have
yeah,
to say. And I think I have to be confident about this na maraming pinagdadaanan na ethics levels yung mga yan
yeah,
bago maka-release yung news. So, 'di ba, it cannot be na a certain network is really biased, totally biased. Hindi eh. Kasi that's a discipline eh. And if ever they become biased, give it time, hindi sila magsasucceed.
mm, that's true. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the prevailing arguments kasi ng mga trolls is if they see something they don't like, if they see news they don't agree with, biased yan.
Totoo,
But that
totoo.
is true kasi I mean I don't know much about journalism or what happens within the network, but I would imagine that there's a writer, there's a fact checker, or, and
Mhm.
then you pass it to somebody to have that approved, and somebody else. I don't know how it works. But is
It's
that
true. Yeah.
yeah? Is that more or less?
Before a story is aired on TV, it goes through 5 levels before it
Okay.
goes on air. And ano yun, talagang super short span of time lang yun. Like, our deadline is around 4 o'clock. It airs 6:30. Pero 5 levels yun. Sometimes, if it's really complicated, dadaan pa yan sa lawyer, dadaan pa yan sa legal.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
You
that's good.
trust
Oh, I
your
didn't know that.
resources. Oo. Trust.
Yeah. I'm sure. I mean, obviously, it's fun. It's still funny to me because, my gosh, like, buong ano na yan eh. It's a whole network and you feel like, and you believe na hindi sila nagpa-fact check. You think may mga things that slip through the cracks. So, my gulay. Um,
Totoo.
but it's nice because I think as youth and a lot of the people who are watching here, parang malleable pa rin yung mga habits namin, malleable pa rin yung the way that we approach social media, yun nga, even the intentionality of looking for the good news, intentionality of looking for the facts and the real news. Pero paano po yung mga nanay, tatay namin, paano po yung mga lolo't lola, paano po yung mga medyo hindi na malleable?
Oo, oo.
How do
Correct.
we teach them? How do we encourage them naman? Not in, I wouldn't say teach kasi baka ma-turn off sila. How do we encourage them to spot fake news?
Ang challenging, sa totoo lang, ang
Yeah.
challenging talaga ng question na yan kasi 'di ba mas madali talagang turuan ng baby kaysa turuan ng adult. 'Cause
Yeah.
old habits are hard to change. But, I would have to say just continue convincing them and say na kung ano yung natutunan niya, for example, right now, kung mommy, daddy, saan ba galing yung source na yan? Diba? Halimbawa, may buhay na sa Jupiter, nabasa nila or nakita nila sa YouTube, anak, may buhay na pala sa Jupiter. Ha, saan mo ba nakita yan? Diba?
Okay.
Kailangan galing
Sa
talaga yan.
Viber daw.
Kailangan nasa talaga galing yan or something. Pero, if ever na, let's say, wag naman sana, pero if it gets heated, if the conversation gets heated, kasi syempre, hindi, naniniwala ako na ito yan, ganyan. Then, you have to explain to them, intentionally explain to them na, bakit ko ba kino-correct yung fake news na nakukuha mo? Kasi, that's for us, that's for our benefit. So, magtiwala tayo dun sa mga experts. And then, you can put it as an example na, halimbawa, ikaw, mommy, di ba teacher ka? So, pag nagturo ka, naniniwala ako sa'yo, di ba? Kasi expert ka dyan. Bakit ang hirap mong maniwala sa trusted resource na ito? Ako, for me, that's how I would approach it. Kasi, kasi parang to just simplify it, di ba? It's so hard to keep on arguing. Pero, ibato nyo lang sa saan ba galing? How are we so sure na totoo yan or tama yan? Kasi mahirap ngang turuan ng mga parents ngayon, lalo na sa social media, pero ang laking responsibility actually ng parents that they have to see what's happening in the social media of their children also. So, gusto ko nga na i-advise pa sa inyo na kayo mismo, you have to be intentional na kung ano yung ipopost nyo sa social media, you are conscious and you do not have a different personality when you're on social media.
Yeah. That's good. Actually, parang bubato po kayo ng last line. A different personality on social media. Can you expound on that? What do you mean by, different personality at home and online?
Yes. Oo. Madaming research about this, no, Janina, na yung mga youth, yung age group ninyo, 16 to 24, 70% daw ng mga youth ay meron silang different personality sa social media.
Okay.
It's alarming, diba? It's alarming when
Yeah.
you think of it. It's like a new avenue for rebellion. Most especially now that nasa pandemic tayo and people are unable to go out as much as they can, diba? Hindi maka-gimmick, hindi maka-party, ganon. So, sa social media na lang na ilalabas. But, it's very important na you have to be genuine, whether you are on social media or you are outside social media. I have an example that comes into my mind. Merong time na nag-interview ako ng isang guy. Pero before the interview, kachat ko siya sa messenger. So, kachat ko siya, hi sir, blah, 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 blah. Sobrang daldal niya, sobrang kulit, sobrang assertive. But, sobrang shock ko. Nung na-meet ko siya, akala ko ibang tao yung kausap ko. Kasi, sobrang opposite. Nung kausap ko na siya, hindi siya nagsasalita. Sobrang mahiyain siya. Parang, yes, opo, ganun. So, shocked ako. Tapos, mixed emotions ako at that time. And then, doon ko na-realize na, grabe, ganun pala katotoo yung meron talagang mga tao na iba yung personality nila sa social media. We don't know, diba? For example, sa viewers natin ngayon, hindi naman natin alam kung nasa ganong stage sila or wala sila sa stage na ganon. But it's so important na ma-recognize natin where we are at that sa social media at least. Kasi maraming mga cases na ngayong pandemic daw, there are two things that social media gives. It's either number one, it teaches you how to socialize more, di ba? Kahit na hindi nakakalabas, nakakasama pa rin with friends. And then, nai-inspire ka pag nakikita mo yung mga idols mo online. Parang, uy, nakaka-inspire naman siya. Or nakikita mo na, uy, pwede palang gumawa ng bagong skill. Pwede palang magluto ng ganito. Ito lang pala yung mga ingredients na pwede mong lutuin. But at the same time, meron ding yung bad side naman of influences that you compare your being, your personality with other people na nakikita mo sa social media and you do not even know kung totoo ba na yun talaga yung buhay nila or hindi. I don't know about you, pero ako, I would have to be honest, na sometimes, kapag ka nagbabrowse ako sa social media and I'm having a bad day, lalo lang uminit yung ulo ko. Kasi, para bang naisip ko na, ay, bakit ganun? Bakit? Sometimes nakikita ko, nako-compare ko rin pala yung sarili ko. Or sometimes, ako ina-acknowledge ko yung mga ganun eh. Kasi I'm very conscious of myself and cautious of myself and what I consume. So, sometimes ganun, nakikita ko na parang pangit yung naging effect sa akin today ah. Pero may mga times naman na, uy, ang happy ko today after seeing, lalo na pag sa TikTok, tawang-tawa talaga ako pag nasa TikTok ako. Pero, doon ko nakita na social media, you have to be intentional in consuming and then you have to kailangan mo mag-back off or mag-back out ng kaunti if it's becoming toxic for you.
Yeah.
Kasi, yeah, you have to do it. Parang halimbawa, in a week, it would be very healthy kapag meron kayong couple of hours in a week or at least in a day na consciously, you're not gonna use your phone, you're not gonna browse social media, and then you just enjoy your life. Like, you have to cook, you go out. Ako pagka ganun, I drive around, I look at the trees, I eat. Kasi, kapag you think na hindi na yun nakakatulong sa'yo, then don't do it. Diba? Parang, parang kapag may kausap ka, halimbawa may kausap ka, tapos ang dami niyang mga sinasabi sa'yo, in person, no? Tapos ang toxic na nung sinasabi niya sa'yo, parang, diba ikaw as a person, parang hindi na helpful sa akin yung sinasabi niya. So you're just gonna take whatever is constructive to you, or you leave whatever is destructive to you.
Yes.
That's what I want and I always think about na dapat kung paano yung social media, you don't treat it as a different world, pero you always see it na parang in person. What if social media is a tao? Diba? If si social media is a person and saying na, uy, ang sexy ko, bakit ikaw hindi ka sexy? Then what are you gonna do, diba?
Oh, wow. That's good. Yeah.
If you could talk to social media, diba? Parang why would I be influenced by you? Magkaiba naman tayo ng buhay. Magkaiba tayo ng pinanggalingan. Naalala ko nga, alam mo, kasi I'm an orphan, so I lost my parents at a very young age. And then growing up, may mga issues ako, like, nalulungkot ako lagi, naiingit ako kapag may mga daddy yung mga ibang tao or may mommy sila. Pero, ganun lang ka-strong yung ginawa ni Lord sa akin na my security is in Him. Whatever, kung nasa downside man ako ng buhay ngayon, I'm secure in the Lord. And then that's the same thing for social media. If you are secure with where you are, then stop comparing yourself with other people on social media kasi you don't even know what's happening to them sa mga bahay nila. They may be posting, happy birthday, but after that, ikaw nalungkot ka, ang saya-saya ng birthday niya. Yun pala, after that post, di ba nagtanda, away-away pala sila ng family and so affected ka by that.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that idea of personifying social media. Kasi if you allow an influence like that on your life for 11 hours of a day, right? As you mentioned, we have to be picky with our friends. We have to be picky with what relationships we allow to influence us, to speak to us, to to encourage us, to discourage us, quote unquote. And so in that way, you also have to the word of the night, I feel like, is intentional. You have to be intentional to choose talaga, parang to, how is that, to filter, I think, is the
Filter.
also
It's
another
a
big
word.
word to summarize tonight. It's dapat intentional ka to filter what you're not only what you're scrolling through, but what you allow to set within your mind and your heart. Because yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, and at the same time, I just remembered, ikaw din, what you say to other people, or what you post, or what you comment, you also have to think, and you have to personify yourself. If I were physically with this person right now, will I say this? Kasi diba, ang tapang ng mga tao sa social media because
keyboard warriors. Yeah.
Keyboard warriors, exactly. That's a term nga pala. Diba, they just post whatever, pero in person, hindi sila ganun.
Yeah.
So ikaw, the healthy way to do it, ikaw, if you're gonna say something, sasabihin ko ba to kapag in person ako with this person? Kapag kaharap ko ng tao, sasabihin ko ba to o hindi?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. It's humanizing yourself. It's humanizing the troll. It's humanizing even whatever influencer you're comparing yourself to. It's seeing that madaming dimensions na hindi natin nakikita. There are so many layers of a person that nawawala through the screen. And so it's, again, an intentional decision you have to make to remember na human ka, na, remember if this is something, or the person you're talking to, it's also a person. And I think
Mm.
it's just, yeah, yun nga, humanizing everyone and being intentional with what you consume and what you contribute into social media. Grabe, ang bigatin po ng usapan natin. Okay.
Baka
Well,
may mga
thank
hindi makatulog. Paano ko
Oo
ba
nga eh,
gagawin
parang
ba?
mag-existential crisis na ako dito. And this has been my job for many years, no? Pero parang mas lumalim pa yung ano ko. Okay, Jinky says, I have learned to starve the trolls by not engaging them.
Perfect. That's also what
Yeah.
I do.
Yes, same. 100%. Kasi mas, parang nagaganado sila pag ini-engage mo. So, wag na lang. It infuriates them more if you're unbothered by it.
It's true.
Pero sige, we'll move on to our next segment, which will switch gears just a little bit to our Dear Janina segment. Ito, so this is from L. Obviously, so you can drink water. It's super fine. Okay lang. Dear Janina, I'm Elle. I'm turning 25 this October, and during the pandemic, I suffered depression and a quarter life crisis. If there's one thing I learned about depression, it's that it isn't a choice. Akala ko kasi before, depressed people just don't find ways to get away from the sadness and emptiness that depression brings until I felt it. Depression will slay you so much that you can't find happiness in doing the things that make you feel happy before. Things became so hard for me to do. I felt so alone and hopeless that I didn't even know the direction of my life. It was the darkest phase of my life. But still, I feel blessed to be alive and cope up with it until now. It is still here at times, but I feel so much better than last year. Oh, I'm so glad.
Good.
I am writing this letter to share my story and let every person suffering from depression know that they aren't alone in this battle. That one day they will wake up feeling better and happier and find their happiness and direction in life again. Wow. Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad you're feeling better, Elle. Thank you so much for sharing your story about this and being so open with our Plus Network fam. Baka Miss Isai, maybe you have something to say to Elle.
Well, El, super brave mo. We're so proud of you na you were able to recover and you are better right now.
Mm-mm.
Sobrang daming nagla-love sa'yo. And for you guys na if you have friends or you have family members na they're going through depression, don't think na it's something easy because it's true what just like what Elle said, parang they can't explain it. Parang they're
Mhm.
just sad, they're just lonely. Never stop loving. Yun lang ang masasabi ko. Even if they choose to distance themselves sa inyo, just continue loving. Loving and loving and loving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's super good. And I think I was one of those people who didn't fully understand depression as well until I went through it. And I
Mhm.
think looking at it for me, this is what worked for me. It might not work for you, but looking at it like a sickness talaga, like an illness,
Mhm.
it's something that doesn't define you. I think somebody who maybe has cancer, somebody who has maybe even fever, you're not gonna walk around being like, oh, I am the person with like with COVID, but you are a person who happens to have COVID. Parang ganon. That's the way that I've approached my episodes of depression, in a sense that it's not who I am. It's just something that I'm going through right now.
So nice.
So
Yeah.
your depression does not define you for sure, but it's also something that, just like COVID, you can't treat that alone. And because we're looking at it as an illness, as something that's real, that's something you can't decide to have or not have, kailangan i-treat natin. We have to, even in the little ways, to make some steps to heal. How is that? By, as El mentioned, knowing that you're not alone and allowing other people to come and help. Oh, it's the worst thing for somebody who's depressed. Like I know, I get it. But unfortunately, as strong as
Yeah.
we want to believe we are, this is a battle not meant for one person. This is it. Honestly, it can take two people. For me, it took a village. It took a family and many more. Through prayer and through counseling and through therapy, actually. And so I wanna, let you know, if anybody here is dealing with depression, if and L also, that I hope that first you don't put disclaimers on your own struggle, and you don't try to invalidate your own struggle. I think that's something that a lot of people with depression feel. It's like, oh, I could have it worse. Somebody has it worse than me.
Mhm.
Why do I have depression? But you do, and that's okay. That's reality for today. We're dealing with depression. But knowing that that's not the end, knowing that that's not the defining this is not the defining moment of your life, and allowing people to come help treat you in a sense. I hope you find people that you can trust, even if it's just one person, because that will make the biggest difference. Because again, it's not really about going faster. And there's that African proverb, diba? If you want to go, what is that, fast you go alone. If you want to go, ano. But I think more of the last one, where I want to talk about, if you really, it's not a quick journey, but if you want to
Mhm.
make it far, and if you want to really experience the entire healing process, I really suggest you walk with somebody. You walk with somebody
Mhm.
who you trust and who won't rush you to fix yourself, because it's not something that you can rush. Anyway, ang dami kong sinabi, sorry.
So nice
um,
nga eh.
yeah, but I hope that helped, even just a little bit. But thank you, Elle, again for sharing that. And if there's anybody going through that here, we're here for you. Your Adultings fam is here for you. But yes, thank you so much, Miss Isai.
My pleasure. Thank
For
you,
joining us
guys.
today. It was Wow, it was such an insightful episode. I'm so glad we had you on. And thank you for being so
Thank
game for all
you.
of my, random questions. Parang lahat
Of
ng mga
course.
binato ko sa'yo, parang you were super G naman to answer. And ang ganda po ng mga sagot niyo. I learned a lot from you.
Thank
Baka po
you.
you have anything you would like to plug before we let you go?
Yeah, just of course, number one, just pray, guys. Never lose hope. Kahit na pangit ang nangyayari, stay positive. You can do it. And then you could follow my social media accounts. I'm Isay Reyes on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Isay_Reyes at Twitter. And then my shoes, the advocacy Bangon Shoes, you can follow at Bangon Shoes. And please support local. Thank you guys for
Mhm.
having me. God bless everyone and good night.
Good night. Thank you so much, Miss Isa.
Thank
I hope to see you in
you.
person soon. Ingat po.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. So now, thank you so much, Miss Isa. I see all of the comments pala. Thank you. There you go. Thank you. Thank Everybody's very, very happy that you are here. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. We are going to move on to our very last segment, which is Just Saying. Ito po ang ating quote for tonight, which is, beware of false knowledge. It is more dangerous than ignorance. And I thought this was very interesting, as somebody who has been ignorant and has a lot of leftover ignorance. I feel like it sometimes, I feel like, that's such a horrible thing. But then with this quote, I realized, oh nga no, I think I was talking to a martial law victim for my next video. Tapos I admitted to him. Sabi ko, "Sir, pasensya na po. Wala kasi ako natutunan sa school tungkol sa totoong mga nangyari ng martial law." Sabi niya, "Uy, okay lang 'yun. Mas okay na 'yun kasi mali ang tinuruan sa'yo." Because it's easier to start from zero than to start from, I guess, 100 na mali. But yeah, I think it's a good reminder to beware of false knowledge, beware of fake news. As we mentioned the whole time, it's about being intentional on filtering what's real and what's not. Not that we're going to choose ignorance, but I think that just puts it into perspective how um, gaano kabigat ang issue, ang problema ng false knowledge or fake news, no? And lastly, our social media challenge for last week. Let me congratulate the most participative Plus fam who shared their entry about last week's social media challenge, which was about guarding your heart. Yay! So this one is from okay, I don't know how to say this. Rizlin Borja. Congratulations. Here is what he or she said. I guard my heart by not letting myself get too attached with someone. It's hard and it's painful na ma-attach sa no assurance and no label relationship. Ay, same sis. Above all, be patient and waiting for the right person that God has prepared for you. Ang ganda. Huwag tayo magpadala sa MU, TOTGA, friends with benefits, at iba pang stage na walang patutunguhan. We deserve a love that is pure and sure. Ang ganda! We deserve a love that is pure and sure. So congratulations to you from Plus Network. You will be messaged very, very soon by a representative. And to everybody who's still here, if you like today's episode, pwede niyong i-share sa mga social media accounts and tag My Plus Network. And of course, ako po, Janina Vela. Follow us on social media, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn rin at My Plus Network. Pwede mo rin akong i-follow kung gusto niyo lang. Janina Vela, of course, across all social media platforms. I am hoping, fingers crossed, to post part 2 of my martial law video in a few days. I won't give a day because honestly, yeah, I'm figuring it out. Give me time. Give me time. But yes, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Sana madami kayong natutunan. Ako, syempre, ang dami kong natutunan kay Miss Isay. And I hope that we can be more proactive as we approach social media, especially in with the upcoming elections and with all of the new candidates and all of the fake news that are floating around. I feel like it's imperative that we are on guard and on our toes, especially when it comes to choosing the leaders of our nation. So just a reminder, you only have 15 days left to register to vote. Especially if you are Gen Z, remember that we are majority of the votes, so your vote still counts. So 15 days. I hope I will see you at the polls on May 9, 2022. Naging ano, sorry. Ito pala, adultings pala to. Akala ko with the youth. Joke. Sige, thank you everybody for joining us. I hope you have a good weekend. I will see you online. And I'll see you very, very soon. To stay updated on, Plus Network happenings, Plus Network shows, just follow us on social media and I will hang out with you guys there. Bye. Thank you.